Welcome back to What's New in the Lou with Alexis Zotos, presented by Caldy's Coffee. This is your can't miss weekly podcast where we are helping you stay in the know in St. Louis. So that means the best new restaurants, those can't miss events, but most importantly, the people that continue to make St. Louis the best place to live and visit. Stick around for the end of the episode because we're going to give you a calendar of events of things going on all around town this week so you don't feel left out when you see it all on social media the next week. Anyway, we love talking about new restaurants on this podcast. And this week we are talking about one of the most anticipated ones that is opening this month at Ballpark Village, the Clydesdale. It is from James Beard Award-winning chef Kevin Nashan. Kevin, thanks for being here with us.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And so people know you for Sidney Street, for Peacemaker, but you were taking a big new step and going to Ballpark Village.
Yeah.
Why?
Because we got an incredible opportunity. You know, the Cordish family reached out about probably 5-6 months ago, and we just thought that it was an incredible opportunity. I've always been an advocate of the city, of Sidney Street for 24 years and the Verse Piece for 12. And, it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. And I love what's happening at Ballpark Village.
Let's talk about what this space will be. I think Ballpark Village is evolving. You know, we've seen so much evolution with Katie's coming in with Salt and Smoke and what that's done for that property. You're also bringing a more elevated restaurant concept. Let's talk about it. What is it going to look like for people as they step through those doors?
Well, we want it to be comfortable. You know, we call it basically an American tavern, and really it's a neighborhood eatery. We love the fact that our neighbors to the east of us are Salt and Smoke, and then to the west of us are Katie's, and we're nestled in between. So we didn't really want to compete with that, but we just wanted to kind of be a part of that family and just bring another experience for the ballpark, but also one of those experiences that you can go there and you could, celebrate a wedding, or you can get there and do an office meeting. So it was kind of one of those things let's eat wings, but if we wanted to go and have a really nice meal, let's just go and do it there. And I think the atmosphere is going to be really fun and quaint. And I think that, I love the name, the Clydesdale, because it's just synonymous to St. Louis, and it just, our partners, Budweiser, they're a wonderful company, and it's just one of those things that we really thought it would be good to pay homage back to the city.
It is a really good name. It's actually kind of crazy that nobody else has sort of tried to take when it came out, the press release initially, I was like, that's an excellent name for a St. Louis restaurant. As a chef, does it make it tricky when you are trying to think of all the different people that come to Ballpark Village, the Cardinals fans, the tourists, but also continuing to bring the St. Louisans? How do you make sure you're hitting all those different visitors while also providing a really good restaurant experience?
Well, I think the most important part is the hospitality, which we are really excited about and to bring. But I think also it's just really being casual and comfortable, but really having that kind of rustic, elegant appeal, which I think a lot of our restaurants do. Sidney Street does, and Peacemaker, and I think at the end of the day, Clydesdale is just going to be one of those places where it feels like just a nice, comfortable pair of jeans that you've worn, and that's what our hope is. And we've really grouped up a really incredible team. Matt Dovin, our chef, is going to be leading the charge, and Olivia Diggs is going to be our head stew, and I'm really excited about the team and really excited about the food that they're going to, we're all going to be creating for St. Louis.
What else is going to be on the menu that people can get excited about?
Some standouts, I think they're kind of sleepers. I really love the charbroiled oysters. It's a really kind of little twist on there. And I love the trout dish. The trout dish I kind of stole from La Trattoria, which is one of my restaurants in Tulsa. And it's basically a grilled trout with chimichurri and crispy potatoes, some cotija. So it's one of those but it's just nice, and it's elegant, but it's nice and just relaxing and comfortable. And I think we have a delicious two ways of a burger. We have this Clyde's burger, which is a thicker Wagyu cut, and then we have that smash burger. So I think that if you're looking for ballpark fare, your wings and that kind of thing, it's there for you. And we have a kids menu that is definitely going to have appeals because it's going to be families there. So we know that, and we want to make sure we capture that so that you can go there and the kids are going to have fun and draw and all that kind of stuff. But you can also enjoy yourself with a bowl of pasta or a steak free or, something like that. Something that would definitely.
You're a dad, about bringing kids to restaurants. It's a huge passion of mine to make sure that my kids, that when we're going out to eat, which we do a lot, that they can get something good and I can get something good.
Yes.
And I think Peacemaker actually is one of those great examples of like a fantastic restaurant that also has great stuff for kids.
Thank you.
That's not always the case. A lot of times it's an afterthought, but you're really thinking about that, especially when you're talking about downtown where we know there's a lot of families.
Absolutely. And it's got to be approachable. It's, the kids at the end of the day, you can't, dress up a hot dog at the end of the day to make it look like something it's not. It's a hot dog, mac and cheese is mac and cheese. Just make it delicious ingredients, brining our chicken for those chicken, tenders and that kind of thing. Just those little nuances that are just like, they won't know it, but it's like going to be a better bite.
It's so that when the parent has to eat the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly. you know.
That's how I feel about the mac and cheese at Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Like when my kids don't finish it, I am gratefully going to eat the rest of it.
We'll appreciate that.
It is interesting when we talk about families and bringing not just the tourists into downtown, but people from all over the St. Louis region. We know that the Cardinals, they're not year round, and we've got to have people that come to Ballpark Village throughout the year, not just during baseball season. Are you hopeful that by bringing by your name, what you have created here in St. Louis and around the country, that it helps to continue to bring more St. Louisans back into downtown?
Well, I'm not going to say it helps. I'm glad to be a part of it. I think that I'm excited what downtown is becoming. I mean, that soccer stadium has been nothing but a charm, and what they've created for the last 12 to 13 years with that Ballpark Village is just, it's amazing. And, the first time I ever really got to walk through the space, and it's 3 stories, I was just like, wow, what a view of the field. It just really showcased St. Louis. And I'm like, I want to be a part of this. So I think that, my goal for my part of it is I really just wanted to be like, hey, I'm really supportive of St. Louis and I really believe in this. And I think that this is going to be just another little piece to the puzzle. And there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that can hopefully draw people that aren't engaged in times of a concert or a baseball game. It's like, hey, we have 7 choices to go downtown and or probably more than that, but to go downtown and go enjoy yourself. And I think we just want to be a part of that.
Yeah. You were not originally from St. Louis,
Nope.
But you have really helped make our city and our community shine. New Mexico? Yeah.
New Mexico.
What brought you here? Because while you're from New Mexico, you've also worked in some of the best restaurants around the country and around the world. What brought you to St. Louis?
College. Yep. Went to SLU and had a awesome, amazing time there. And, graduated with marketing and a minor in poli-sci, and thought I was going a completely different route than restaurants because I grew up in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
My family had a restaurant for 27 years.
And so you didn't think you wanted anything to do with it?
I didn't. But while I was at the university, I worked on the weekends at Tony's.
Oh.
And during the week, I worked at a restaurant called Colorado, which John Rice and Lee Riddell owned. And it was just really cool. It was, it was kind of like, and I got to my should have been my final senior year, and I had to do one more. And my brother and I were like, hey, I'm like, I kind of want to try and do our own restaurant, but neither one of us knew about food that well. So, we grew up in it, but I was mostly front of the house and bussing tables. And if that was back of the house, I'd be washing dishes. So I was like, I'm going to pick the short straw and I'm going to go and use culinary school as grad school. And then we'll go from there. And then it was crazy. I went to CIA in Hyde Park, New York, and literally fell in love with it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird. It was meant to be.
And when you think back to sort of that sort of pivoting point of life, could you imagine having gone down that different route? I mean,
not what I know now. It's kind of like having kids. People are like, could you imagine your life with or without kids? And I'm like, no, if I knew what this was going to be like, it's kids all the way. And it's like, I have met so many incredible people in this field and I love it. And it gets me out of bed every day and I'm excited. Yeah, it's tough and we get our teeth kicked in, but I really enjoy it. So that's it.
After working at so many of these great restaurants, what made you decide to come back here though and plant your roots here in St. Louis?
Well, I mean, my brother and I always really kind of thought of St. Louis as wanting to come back, but we always think about a girl, and it's always about a girl, and my wife's from there. So that was
thank you to her.
Yeah.
Well, I think St. Louis is pretty grateful for that then.
I'm grateful for St. Louis, so.
And talk about Sidney Street, because that was your first restaurant here.
Yep.
And what made you choose that spot, that corner in Benton Park?
Unexpected turn as well. Like I was literally at the time I was working at Harvest. I had just tried out for the position at the Chase as the chef, and I got it.
Okay.
Tom McKinley, who was the previous owner for Sidney, said Kent Hirschfelder was his real estate and restaurant broker, and was like, "Hey, reach out to these guys. I think they're looking for a place." And so that was the start of the conversation. I put the brakes on the Chase, and there we are. It really reminded me, Sidney it was very, looking back, it was so hard the first 5 years, but I think I was, ignorance is bliss. So it was kind of like, I was scared of failing. I was scared of just changing things. But I think it reminded me so much of our family restaurant and the people who worked there for so long that was super comforting to me. But like, it really took like, my brother and my wife and everyone just to be like, hey, we have to really go and approach this slow. We can't just change things to change them. And we did. And it was kind of like we all like won these little battles. Like first time we ever put foie gras on the menu or, like got to a tasting menu, it was like these little triumphs. I mean, I remember Chris Byer and I like changed the first vinaigrette there, and we were like, that was a win.
Yeah. Because that's the scary thing when you change what people have come to know.
And it was busy. It was a busy restaurant. It was like, okay, why are you changing something? So it was kind of like, well, the only thing we started changing were stuff that didn't sell. And that was our only thought process on that. And after a while, it just all worked. And then people trusted us, and it was fun.
After 32 years, Clydesdale Coffee has finally introduced its first signature drink. The new Highlander Grog Latte takes one of Clydesdale's most loved coffee flavors and turns it into a handcrafted espresso drink, featuring a house-made syrup with notes of maple, butter, and warm spice. It's fun, familiar, and refined. The kind of drink that hits during a busy morning or afternoon break. And most importantly, it reflects the same commitment to quality and craftsmanship that has defined Clydesdale Coffee since 1994. The Highlander Grog Latte is available now at all Clydesdale Coffee cafes. You have this space that I think is kind of one of those gems of St. Louis, where it is this very special occasion restaurant. I mean, we went there, my husband and I went there when we got engaged that night.
Thank you.
But it's also one of those places that people can just go in and
Absolutely.
go in on a weekday night, and it's not one of those you have to feel intimidated by to go there as some people feel about fine dining.
They do. I think maybe we were going down a wrong rabbit hole for a while, and I'm going to take the grenade on that. I think, there was a lot of years that like, I think we were just going down the wrong direction. I love the fact of the creativity part, but I think that we weren't really listening to the consumer. And I think COVID for that restaurant saved Sidney Street Cafe.
Interesting. How so? Because most people wouldn't say that.
Well, because at the end of the day, we got rid of the tasting menu and we wanted to make it so the neighborhood would really support us. And we put a burger on the menu, and we still had that creativity and those beautiful ingredients, but we were like, okay, we need to just chill out and just make this more accessible. And and I feel like today the food at Sidney Street is the best food in the last 24 years.
Wow.
So,
all right, well, if you haven't been in a while, folks, that's your reminder to get out there.
That crew, I mean, Bob Zugmeyer, Jose Venta, Mikey, Chris Koenig, Amelia, our pastry chef, and the whole team. I just applaud. It's amazing.
How vital is it to have people within your restaurants? Because you have quite a few now. You've got several here in St. Louis. You have two in Tulsa. One in Tulsa.
I closed Peacemaker last year in the fall.
In Tulsa.
Yep.
But how key then is it to have a team that you trust at these when you're expanding like you
Trust
are?
is everything. I don't know. And we never really thought we were going to expand. I mean, no, I don't think of any of this stuff. It literally happens naturally. And it's great too when people stay with you. I think that, it gives other people opportunity to grow. And it's like, okay, well, you need people and they need you, and it's symbiotic. And that's kind of like what the culture is.
From Sidney Street, let's then jump to Peacemaker. Also there in Benton Park.
12 years.
12 years. That's crazy. That's a long
years.
time.
I think it's this week. It could be tomorrow.
Oh, well, congratulations.
I think
Happy birthday, Peacemaker.
Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't even think about that.
A phenomenal spot in St.
Thank
Louis.
you.
It's funny. I just made a post about, great places to get seafood in St. Louis. And obviously Peacemaker is top of the list. And a lot of people are still like, seafood in the Midwest. But we have the ability to get fresh seafood so easily here now.
Yes.
When you opened that, were you met with that similar? What do you mean you're bringing us oysters here in St. Louis?
Well, absolutely. But it's one of those things too that the consumer has zero idea sometimes, and especially 12 years ago, like how these, airlines worked. And so Southwest Cargo was literally our artery. And I knew since we had been dabbling a lot in it for years with Sidney Street that we were able to, I had all these incredible connections. So it's like, all right, I'm going to use, these are my guys on the East Coast and this is who we're going to use. And it was just really cool. It's funny, James, a friend of ours, we work with him. He does a lot of the publicity for Clydesdale. This morning at like 4:30 or 5, something like that, he was like, a friendly reminder, you have to get up and that kind of thing. And I appreciate that, but he didn't really know that like I'm like up at 4 a.m. And so I quickly sent him a picture and I was at Southwest Cargo picking up lobster this morning, literally. And I could show you the pic. And so it was funny. It's, the cool thing is that I always think that like, if you can make the product better without like being, it being weird or anything, and just, it makes common sense, then why not do that? And it's like, we have these direct connections and, with like oysters and shellfish. I mean, we have a guy, Dino, in New Orleans that literally we get all our shrimp for our shrimp boils. We get all our crawfish. We get all our alligator. He does our flounder for our fish sandwiches. And, it's really neat, and then we have like all these like, oyster guys. And then we have, 3 or 4 lobster guys. And then it's just so cool. I love it. And then, of course you have the local guys like City Seafood and Fortune who they can get your back when things are and they source really well. So it's really neat,
When you expanded Peacemaker to Kirkwood, what did that do to change the business?
Well, I think it exposed Peacemaker more, but I think people that were true to Benton Park were a little kind of in the beginning taken back because they were like, this isn't Peacemaker. And I'm like, no, it's a brewery that serves Peacemaker food. But, we didn't sell boils and we still don't. And we don't sell oysters there. But, it's a brewery, Four Hands, who we love our partners. And then, we serve Peacemaker food. So I think it's just been so fun to evolve in that space. It's a beautiful space. The outdoor is super, super cool. That's where I think like so unique. And then we just get to engage completely different styles. So you're still getting the same quality. You're still getting the same, hospitality. It's just a little different.
When you expand like that, what are some of the biggest, challenges when you are moving outwards, whether it's out of Benton Park or just outside of St. Louis? What are some of the biggest challenges as a chef and restaurateur as you think about expansion?
Well, I should have thought about it really hard a lot of times, but as I said earlier, ignorance is bliss. I think it's all super challenging. I think the fact of employees and if you have to hire a majority of staff that doesn't really understand the ethos of Peacemaker, to get that culture is very difficult right off the bat. And I think that even if you have people hang out with you for 2 or 3 weeks before opening, it's, some of these people have been with us for 12 years and it's very difficult to replicate that kind of ethos. But the cool thing is that like standards and having like procedures and that kind of thing help ease the pain. But I also like it that it's a little different. I love that Peacemaker Kirkwood is different. And you can go to a window like you could to a crab shack like in the East Coast and order it in the summertime. And it feels like, and you got this beautiful like backyard and you got the trains coming through and it's very kid friendly. And then you got like the airport and the airport's super unique too. But like to kind of tie it back all to Clydesdale, it's like, this is going to be such a unique place for St. Louis. And I'm really excited. I love the name. I love there's so much I love about it. So, and the people.
When you said you met with them a couple months ago, was there, when you looked at the space, it's a huge space comparative to your other
Very
restaurants.
large.
How does that present new...
Daunting.
Yeah. Challenge. I was going to say, yeah, I bet.
Yes. Like, you guys aren't engaging all this at once. And they're like, yeah, why wouldn't we? And it's like, okay, well, I have to get my big boy pants on because this is a little more different than what I thought. But I mean, it's so cool. It's like, it's so beautiful. It's so unique. And it's beautiful. And like, they put so much effort monetarily, but they put so much effort in the way they operate their businesses. Are super, super, scaled and just really organized. But yet they also want things to be better. And that's why we created this relationship. They're like, we want it to be more St. Louis and a little more chef driven and do this and, create a change for this space. So we were super lucky to be a part of it. And I love it. So,
what makes me excited is continuing to highlight that St. Louis food scene that we know is so incredible to those that aren't from St. Louis, that are coming in for a ball game, that are coming in for a concert or a conference. The convention crowd is huge in St. Louis, in downtown. What excites you about bringing that St. Louis food scene to all of those visitors?
Well, I mean, it's all exciting. I think every single customer going in there, we have an opportunity to really grasp and basically reinstate that, like, hey, St. Louis downtown has some incredible spots, and it's fun too. So like if you live in the area or you live in Soulard and Benton Park and you have like a certain routine, we just want to be part of that routine, and we just wanted to kind of just change it up. So it's like, it's fun. It's like, it's unique. It's you can go to Sidney Street one night and Clydesdale the next, and maybe, Peacemaker in there too. But it's like at the end of the day, there's Katie's, there's, Salt and Smoke, which are very, very different. And, and all these like downtown spots. And then you can go to Blue City Deli, and then Little Fox. Little Fox is one of the biggest gems in this town. Love it. And it's just really adds to the uniqueness in this town. And I think that that's the part that I love about St. Louis, is that like a lot of the chefs and a lot of the people have open restaurants, everyone does these different little, like, it's not really, no one's copying one another, and everyone's just kind of doing their own vibe. It's pretty cool.
We continue to, I think finally get the national attention that our city deserves. You won a James Beard back in 2017.
Well, our team won it.
Your team won it.
I happen to be the head cheerleader of it, but yes.
What did that change the game for you at all in St. Louis in terms of the crowds, the business? How did that change things for you?
I mean, you can argue that it did get a little busier, but also it's, you have X amount of seats and you have the walls, and it's like, the people have been supporting you, and we've been super fortunate on that. But I think the biggest like change was like, I really loved it for our team and like our teams in the past, like, Chris Bolliard had been with us for 12 years, and, it just all these people, Christy Augustine, like all these people that have like worked in the past. It was like so cool to like tie it all together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The newest one, Lauren,
and I'm
Best Chef Midwest this year.
So happy. We were so happy
for her.
Yeah.
Absolutely
and
love
she's a
her
doll.
and the team. But it once again shows that St. Louis deserves and is on the map when it comes to fantastic food. Like
Absolutely.
That we're not a flyover state, as some might still describe our town.
And diverse.
Yes.
Like, niche was a lot different than Sidney Street, and Sidney Street is different than Balkan. But like at the end of the day, the one true thing is just serving delicious food and really making impacts in your community. I mean, that's where it's at.
You're a little busy. You got a lot of things on the table, but I got to ask, when you do get the night off, where are some of the spots that you're dining out?
I don't know. I mean,
like,
I try not to have I don't have bad meals. I mean, some efforts are better than others. I mean, anytime, like, it's truly, I love going out, but we don't get to go out that often. And, with our boys too, I've, kids, and they play sports and they do all this stuff. And it's just, life is crazy. So, but I do like to support my friends. And then I like to, what was fun, it was really interesting. About 3-4 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to go out to Augusta, and I went to this place called Roots. And it was super cool. It was like, and I knew the chef. I think he had staged at Sidney before, and a couple of kids in that kitchen have. And it was just like, I had no idea. And it was just so cool. I was like, man, this is such a good little gem of a place. And of course, Augusta is beautiful and stuff. But it's like that. It's like, I always kind of bump in. I mean, literally on the way to this podcast, I'm like driving around and I'm like looking around and I see this adorable little restaurant. And I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, the Piccadilly. I'm like, that's my father-in-law's favorite restaurant. And same with Mike Emerson. Now I've been hearing about this. I'm like, where have I been?
But that's the joy of St. Louis.
Yeah.
When we're talking, yes, incredible restaurants in Augusta, incredible restaurants in the city, incredible restaurants 1 block away in a neighborhood in Maplewood. And in some ways, we're a little spoiled.
We are.
And you're about to open what could be, the next one that puts our city on that food map.
Well, we're excited to open it and be a part of it.
Thanks so much, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's never a shortage of great places to eat and things to do around St. Louis. So let's dive into what you need to put on your calendar for this week, August 24th through the 23rd. Well, first off, you heard it here. The opening night for the Clydesdale from Chef Kevin Nashan is August 27th. Pups at the Park, where you can bring your dog to City SC's Energizer Park, is happening this weekend, August 28th. One of my favorite festivals, Festival of Nations, is back in Tower Grove Park, August 29th through the 30th. The big Moonlight Ramble is happening August 29th. And finally, Lionel Richie at the Muni is this Saturday, August 29th. If you have an event that you'd like us to include in the podcast, you can reach out to us on social media. Find us at What's New in the Lou podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Give us a like and a follow while you are there. And thank you, as always, for listening. We'll meet you back here next week.